The only little princess for hundreds of years, cherished by countless. Smash walnuts with the national jade seal, riding a tiger to fight, to become a princess in an enemy country, accepted as an apprentice by the national teacher, the big shots escorted me, and Xiaonuomi just wanted to say, you make way, block me from looking at handsome guys. The little milk buns that were only obtained through heaven's prayers, besides their daily cute behavior, gradually became apparent to the emperor. My daughter is a little poisonous milk dumpling, and my father is also a good hand at cheating. What should I do? It's just such a precious lump, I can only spoil it. If someone doesn't agree, hold it back for me. The only little princess of Changnan Kingdom, must be doted on fiercely. As time passed, they gradually discovered that the little princess Huizhi Lanxin, Bingxua Smart, could live to death with flesh and bones. After growing up, the little princess was pushed to the corner of the wall. Little one heard that you can see through people's hearts. Can you see clearly that there is a you in my heart? Keywords of the novel. Tuan Chong Little Princess, she is fierce and vicious. No pop-ups, group favorite Little Princess, she's so fierce. Download the complete set of TXT, the beloved little princess of the group, she is so fierce. Latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. Princess Born. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1 Princess Born. For 500 years, there has been no princess in Changnan Kingdom. When the empress was giving birth, she specially came to the moon altar to worship her ancestors and gods, only seeking one daughter. Outside the moon altar, in front of the 8 princes led by the crown prince, the civil and military officials, Wu Yangyang, knelt on the ground. The emperor knelt devoutly holding 3 incense sticks and prayed. It was already December in the blink of an eye, and the plum blossoms in the palace had long withered, except for the crabapple tree in the imperial study that still stood proudly. Your Majesty, a sharp voice came, the empress is about to give birth. The man sitting on the dragon chair sighed helplessly as he looked at the scattered plum blossoms outside the window. The queen has already given birth to 3 sons, but there has been no news these days. Now that she is finally pregnant, she feels uneasy for some reason. Afraid of being another stinky kid. Unfortunately, I haven't given birth to a little princess for him yet. If I can't fulfill my wish this time, I will really be disappointed in her. If all of this is fate. Thinking of it makes him feel a splitting headache. Why is it so difficult to get a cute little cotton jacket? Your Majesty, he stood up and walked to the window, reaching out to take a fallen leaf and playing with it. After a while, he said, I'll go and take a look. I will accompany your Majesty on your journey, said the eunuch respectfully. He waved his hand and said with a faint smile, you've been tired of serving the empress these past few days. Take a good rest. The eunuch did not say much upon seeing the situation and retreated outside the door to await orders. Outside the imperial study, several guards stood on either side. Just walked outside, the cloudy weather is dense suddenly, a strange phenomenon descended from the sky. A second ago, there was thunderous thunder, and in an instant, the sky above the imperial palace was filled with colorful auspicious clouds and 1,000 auspicious signs. A scene of human wonders was staged throughout the Forbidden City. The colorful auspicious clouds are like a dream, ethereal, making people feel mysterious and beautiful. At times, auspicious clouds like the sea, with surging waves, give people a spectacular feeling. And it looks so sacred and inviolable, giving people a sense of longing. They can't help but bow down and pay homage. In such a situation, many high-ranking officials and dignitaries in the palace have already left their homes, amazed by the strange sky. As soon as the emperor entered the palace, he smelled a refreshing fragrance and the sound of crying followed from the front of the delivery bed. He hurried forward. The queen's face was pale, her eyes tightly closed and her face covered in sweat. Her lips were also bitten and bleeding, but it was difficult to conceal her unparalleled beauty. The baby lying on the bed cried loudly, tearing its heart and lungs apart. Congratulations to your Majesty, she is a little princess. The Empress's nurse hugged her swaddle and knelt down to kowtow. Ji Ming was slightly stunned for a moment, but didn't react. Even the drowsy Gu Fanning opened her eyes in disbelief. Congratulations to your majesty, congratulations to Empress Dowager, she is a little princess. Everyone knelt down again, and the sound of congratulations was deafening. Ji Mingao looked at the little princess in swaddling clothes in surprise, with tears still hanging from her thick eyelashes. Be careful, be gentle, don't scare my little princess. Ji Mingo's voice was light, trembling as she carefully held the child in her arms, but with an indescribable excitement and satisfaction. The princess, who was originally crying, also showed a smiling face at this moment, feeling that his heart was about to be melted by the little princess. My little princess, why are you so cute? He gently caressed the baby's little face, and the little princess seemed to feel his liking. She grinned and occasionally made a sound, which made the emperor burst into laughter. Holding the little princess in her arms, she couldn't put it down and then turned her gaze to the queen. Thank you, Empress. The Empress weakly opened her eyes and forced out a smile, saying, Congratulations to your majesty for winning the princess. Well, rest now, I'll have the imperial physician take care of you. He lightly patted the princess's back and then lowered his head to kiss her forehead. The baby seemed to feel something, not crying but revealing a sweet smile. From now on, my little princess will be named Jilyuan and conferred the title of Princess Anil. May my obedient daughter be safe, healthy, and happy. Everyone was shocked, even the queen was so shocked that she didn't react for a moment. A newborn princess is usually conferred the title of coronation, which is usually done on the day of the princess's birth. It is enough to see how much Ji Mingao likes this newborn child. The empress was a bit scared for a moment, not sure if this was good or bad for the little princess. As soon as this news spread, I was afraid that many people would have bad thoughts. Upon reflection, everyone bowed their heads and praised, Long live my emperor. Long live. He held the princess in the empress's arms, turned around and left, suddenly looking back as he stepped out of the threshold of the palace. Take good care of the queen, he added after a pause, no one is allowed to disturb the queen's rest. After giving orders, Ji Mingao went to court. The queen held the little princess in her arms and doted on her pink and tender lips. My dear, why are you so cute? The little princess opened her round eyes and curiously looked at her beautiful mother. My mother is only 27 years old this year, and she can be said to be a magnificent and unparalleled beauty. The smile on her lips fully demonstrates the noble and dignified nature of the queen. Playing with the baby in swaddling clothes, it was as beautiful as a painting. The little princess was drowsy in the arms of her beautiful mother, and the newborn baby felt like sleeping when she was full. The queen couldn't hide her fatigue and slept with her daughter. On this day, Ji Mingao carried the princess to the side hall of the dormitory. A group of little radish heads stood obediently in the hall, with a hint of envy in their eyes. Father has not yet embraced them. In the blink of an eye, they were attracted by the voice of the little princess, and they all gathered around. Father, is this our sister? Stand far away, don't scare my little princess. My nickname is Xiaonuomi. Is this my sister? Why is my younger sister so cute? She's so pink and tender. I really want to give her a squeeze. It's soft and sticky like a glutinous rice ball, it looks incredibly cute no matter how you look at it. Well, my younger sister is so cute and cute. As it was almost time to go to court, he reluctantly carried the princess back to the queen's bedroom. Unexpectedly, the child who was originally drowsy would cry uncontrollably as soon as it touched the bed, causing Gu Fanning to quickly pick up the child and soothe her. Looking at the small glutinous rice balls in their swaddling clothes, the emperor's steel heart turned into slag. How could his precious daughter be so soft and cute? Xiaonuomi Tuanzi had round and watery eyes, with big black grape-like eyes that seemed to speak. Her long eyelashes followed her blinking twice, like two brushes, making people unable to resist the urge to touch her fragile skin. The emperor reached out his fingers and gently touched her smooth cheeks, then moved them to her rosy and pink lips, lightly tapping her nose. Little mischievous, you know how to act spoiled. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Naughty. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Naughty, cluck. Hearing her father call her, Xiaonuomi Tuanzi laughed. Her laughter was sweet and pleasant, as clear as a silver bell. Watching Xiaonuomi Tuanzi smile so happily, the emperor also showed a warm smile. Just as the emperor was about to continue kissing, Xiaonuomi Tuanzi suddenly opened her pink mouth and bit his index finger, then ate it all in one bite. Watching the emperor being bitten by his own daughter's index finger, he was immediately stunned. After a while, the emperor came to his senses and looked at his daughter, who was smiling happily and sweetly in his arms. He shook his head and laughed helplessly and indulgently. Xiaonuomi Tuanzi became even more excited when she saw her father laughing at her. She happily raised her meaty little hand. Watching his daughter smile so happily, the emperor couldn't help but laugh and cry. My little glutinous rice, do you want to be so naughty? The emperor reached out with another hand and poked her chubby cheeks. Cluck cluck, feeling teased, Xiaonuomi Tuanzi immediately wrinkled her bun face, feeling extremely aggrieved. The emperor looked at his daughter with a wrinkled bun face and a pitiful expression, feeling extremely distressed. All right, it's my fault. Don't feel uncomfortable anymore. After speaking, the emperor lowered his head and kissed Xiaonuomi Tuanzi's forehead and face, and Xiaonuomi then smiled happily. As soon as the little princess was placed on the bed, she immediately started crying. Woo-wah, watching the little girl cry bitterly and her face turn red with tears, the empress immediately panicked and quickly picked up the little girl to soothe her. Xiaonuomi, are you hungry? Father, I will order someone to bring you milk to drink. The emotion of drinking small glutinous rice balls with milk slowly calmed down and stopped crying. After feeding her milk, Xiaonuomi Tuanzi started crying again. The emperor quickly comforted her and said, all right, father, hold her. He brought the child over, and Xiaonuomi Tuanzi stopped crying. Xiaonuomi Tuanzi sucked on her pink little fist and looked at the emperor with wet big eyes, that look really heartbreaking. The emperor looked at this little thing so cute that he couldn't bear to let it go. He held the child and went to court. Ji Mingao sat on the imperial sedan chair with Xiaonuomi in his arms. The carriage was very luxurious, surrounded by golden light gauze, and at the top was a huge dragon head announcing his identity. There were more than 100 palace maids, eunuchs, and guards from front to back. Xiaonuomi Tuanzi remained peacefully in his arms, with a pair of round and curious big eyes staring around. He wrapped Xiaonuomi in his wide sleeves to avoid startling the wind. Her gaze remained fixed on Xiaonuomi, her mouth pink and her cheeks full of baby fat. Her fair and smooth skin appeared even more delicate and translucent in the sunlight, as if it were a shell egg that could be blown and broken. Her hair was smooth and black, and after falling off her shoulders, it swayed slightly with her movements. His precious little princess, no matter how you look at her, you can't even see enough. Her eyes seem to be glued to her. In the Golden Luan Palace, the civil and military officials saw that there seemed to be something extra in the emperor's arms. It wasn't until the emperor changed his posture that they saw the little princess in swaddling clothes shocked. Isn't this Princess Annal, who was just born a few days ago? How could she grow so cute so quickly and still look at them with her eyes open? That's so cute. Looking at everyone's gaze, Xiaonuomi waved her small hand and greeted them. Is this the little princess? Tell me, the emperor is so angry and unpredictable, how could he give birth to such a cute and soft little princess? You can take it easy. If the emperor hears about it, you will suffer. When the emperor stood by the dragon chair with his child in his arms, all the civil and military officials were frightened. This was the first time in history that he held a little princess to court. Thinking of them as emperors, that's a ruthless tyrant who would beat and kill the crown prince. I didn't expect them to be so gentle and doting on the little princess, it's really shocking. Flat. The emperor, sitting on the dragon chair, waved his broad and gorgeous sleeves and gave a faint command. Thank you, Emperor. All the officials knelt down and kowtowed in gratitude. Long live. Rainy days are lazy and comfortable, with a gloomy sky covering the entire earth. Xiaonuomi lay peacefully asleep in the arms of the queen. Empress, it's time, reminded the close palace maid Zhu Qing. Gu Fanyin looked at the small glutinous rice in her swaddling clothes, soft, sleeping exceptionally sweetly. Her heart was as soft as a ball of cotton. Leaving a gentle kiss on her pink face, she carefully placed the glutinous rice into the cradle, fearing it would wake her up. Take care of the little princess. Yes. Gu Fanyin returned to the palace to change her clothes. Today is the cold food festival. According to traditional customs, she will go to the altar with the emperor to worship her ancestors. This is also the first time I have left Xiaonuomi behind, and I don't know if Xiaonuomi will cry when she wakes up. It always rains before and after the cold food festival, which is not suitable for taking children out. Without the emperor or empress, the guards outside couldn't help but relax a bit. After noon, it was time for people to fall asleep, and now the guards were taking a comfortable nap. As the little princess was about to wake up, the maid went to the kitchen to heat up the milk. The fourth prince Ji Luofan, who was not yet 4 years old, felt that the opportunity had come and quietly slipped into the palace. Gently reaching the cradle. Today he finally found a chance to see this broken child. The mother said that it was because of this broken child that even the emperor did not like them. The mother often says that children cannot be kept, otherwise there will be no future for their mother and son. Seeing his mother's daily lack of happiness, he must take a good breath today. Ji Luofan's eyes revealed a cold and gloomy aura that made Xiaonuomi feel uncomfortable and couldn't help but shiver. Suddenly awakened by a startle, Xiaonuomi opened her eyes and saw a chubby little boy she had never seen before. His eyes are so scary, he wouldn't want to eat himself, would he? At this moment, Ji Luofan was a bit flustered. What should she do if she woke up and cried? This will attract the guards in. No, he needs to take action quickly. Ji Luofan didn't do what he wanted and directly grabbed Xiaonuomi's neck. Xiaonuomi was even more scared when she saw his fierce face, and she felt uncomfortable holding her neck as if she was about to suffocate. Xiaonuomi's big eyes were filled with tears, her shoulders trembled slightly, and she pouted her mouth, feeling very aggrieved and uncomfortable. Ji Luofan's pitiful expression softened her heart as she looked at her defenseless appearance. I was stunned for a moment. She's just so small, soft like a porcelain doll. Would his actions be too cruel? End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Being Startled. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Being startled, but the mother's face is washed with tears all day long because of this pink jade carved sister. She took away all the favor of her father, who didn't even glance at her. Without her, would father be able to see himself? But the little sister looks so pitiful. Ji Luofan instinctively picked up her little sister, with tears still in her eyes and tears hanging from her long eyelashes. Her sorrowful eyes looked at him. He instantly forgot the purpose of his trip. At this moment, he heard footsteps coming from outside, and his heart panicked. If anyone found out that he had sneaked into the palace of the Empress, they would probably not escape the blame and feel extremely anxious. With a shake of both hands, Xiaonuomi fell directly to the ground. Wow! Xiaonuomi was frightened and cried, and the sound of crying echoed throughout the entire side hall. She felt particularly painful when she fell to the ground. Upon hearing the crying, the guards outside were suddenly awakened. Ji Luofan became even more panicked and quickly ran out of the palace. Before the guard could react, he ran out of sight, only seeing a chubby figure behind him. Upon hearing the sound, the palace maid Taoye hurriedly ran into the palace and saw the little princess fall to the ground, crying uncontrollably. What's going on here? How could the little princess fall to the ground? Quickly pick up the little princess and coax her. Xiaonuomi was crying in pain, no matter how hard she tried to soothe her. Quickly summon the imperial physician to come over. If you don't check, you don't know. Once you check, Taoye's heart plummets to the bottom. Hurry up, someone. There's an assassin. Pass on the imperial physician. Upon hearing the news, the Empress Dowager hurried back to the palace and saw the little princess sitting on the edge of the bed with bandages wrapped around her arms and messy hair. Her face was covered in tears, and her eyes were swollen and red, sobbing uncontrollably. Why did this child fall again? The queen looked at her beloved daughter so sad and felt her heart break. Feeling heartbroken, he picked up the little princess, and the less than half-year-old princess also had a swollen lump on her head. The emperor was furious and said, "What exactly do you think of the princess? Why did you let the little princess fall to the ground?" All the servants in the palace knelt down and said, "Damn it! I didn't protect the little princess well." Taoye quickly replied, "I saw that the princess was about to wake up, so I went to the small kitchen to heat up the milk. Who knew that when I heard the princess's crying, she was already on the ground when I came back?" The empress was angry and pointed at Taoye, cursing, "The little princess is so young. How could you let her be alone in the room? This palace teaches you how to do things like this." Taoye lowered her head and had nothing to say. She was already very afraid of His Majesty the Emperor and the Empress, and now she dare not argue when scolded, afraid that a wrong word from herself would cause displeasure between them. "Go investigate, I want to see who ate the bear heart leopard and dared to harm my little princess." Taoye neglected to take care of the princess and was fined 6 months' salary, but it was brought down. Wang Gongong quickly took Taoye down, and it was impossible for her to take care of the princess again. The guards guarding the door are also unable to escape punishment. The queen held the little princess who was crying uncontrollably and shed a few tears of heartache. The emperor has always doted on his youngest daughter, but this time he became furious due to injury and decided to personally interrogate her. "Tai Yi, how is the princess's health?" The little princess was frightened and had bruises and swelling on the back of her head, as well as bruises on her arms that had already been treated with medicine. It would subside in a few days, and the red mark on her neck was not a big deal. The emperor nodded and said, "You go out first." Ji Mingao carefully examined the red mark on his neck, furrowed his brows, and felt a chill in his heart, afraid that someone might want to strangle his little princess. Who is so ruthless and dares to inflict such a cruel blow on such a young child? I'm afraid it was deliberately chosen during a time when they were not in the palace, or rather, it was premeditated for a long time. In short, we must never let this person go. The imperial physician bowed respectfully and said, "Yes, I am leaving." The emperor walked up to the little princess and gently touched her head, comforting her, "Don't be afraid, father is here." The little princess opened her wet eyes and looked at her father, then suddenly opened her mouth and burst into tears. "It seems that I have truly been wronged." Ji Mingao patiently coaxed, "Xiaonuomi, be good, father, shout for you." After blowing hard, the little princess immediately stopped crying and blinked her eyes, staring at the emperor. He smiled and rubbed the little princess's hair, saying, "Little baby, you're really smart. You know father is helping you shout." Xiaonuomi grinned. The emperor sighed and looked at his daughter's face, saying, "My little princess, who is still so young, is hated by others. In the future, I will never let such a thing happen again." The queen looked at him doting on her daughter and felt warm in her heart. Wiping away tears from the corners of his eyes, he said, "Your Majesty, what are you planning to do with that assassin?" "Of course, it's a warning to the monkeys and a way to avenge my little treasure." The emperor gritted his teeth and said, "Even my daughter dares to move, it's like seeking death. Does the emperor intend to cut that person to pieces? The emperor shook his head and said, I want him to taste all the hardships in the world. He cannot survive, he cannot die. The queen nodded, and she also wanted to see what happened to the assassin. Jiluofan fled back to the palace and hid directly in the study, only daring to come out of the study in the afternoon. Princess Jugue also learned of the news of Princess Annel's attack and secretly rejoiced. It's not a good thing that the emperor dotes on Princess Annel so much. In the future, he will also find a way to peacefully release this, so as not to make the queen so proud every day. I don't know who did what she wanted to do, why not throw Annel to death? Ji Luofan sat on a chubby seat with a heart pounding. His father had been back for a long time, and no one expected to see him enter and exit the princess's leaning feather palace. Fortunately, no one found out it was him. I don't know if the little sister is injured. He didn't dare to ask, afraid that someone would find out it was him. In the deep night, with heavy dew, the emperor sat in front of the dragon table. At this moment, the eunuch-in-chief, Wang Gonggang, came forward and reported, Your Majesty, we have found out. Today, a guard saw that the fourth prince had secretly entered the princess's bedroom. The emperor snorted coldly, patted the table, and stood up. He's really not a good person. My daughter is his sister, he's so lucky. How dare he plan to harm my daughter? The emperor was infuriated and said, Duke Wang, immediately summon the fourth prince to attend. I want to personally ask why he is so insane. He is only 4 years old and so ruthless. Wang Gonggang responded and turned to handle the task assigned by the emperor. In the Jiayuan palace of Empress Jugue, upon hearing the emperor's announcement of the fourth prince's audience, she was overjoyed. You should know that the emperor never pays attention to his son, isn't this sudden concern understood? She quickly tidied up her makeup and decided to go with her son. My son is clumsy and worried that he might say the wrong thing. She only paid attention to organizing her makeup, without paying any attention to the trembling appearance of her own son. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Irreconcilable Momentum. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Irreconcilable Momentum. Not long after, the fourth prince was taken to the imperial study. The emperor waited in the imperial study for a long time and finally invited the fourth prince over. I pay my respects to the emperor and empress. See Father Emperor and Mother Queen. The fourth prince was extremely nervous and tried to maintain his composure, bowing to the two elders in a polite manner, his face pale. The queen frowned slightly, and the child seemed a bit nervous. It seemed that this matter had something to do with him. The emperor sat on the dragon chair, his gaze cold and his expression gloomy. When he saw the fourth prince come in, he was even more furious and slammed the table fiercely. Bastard! How dare you harm my daughter? The fourth prince was already feeling guilty, and now he was so scared that his legs were limp and he knelt heavily on the ground. Your Majesty, is there any misunderstanding? Yun Fan is still so young, how could he do anything to harm the princess, said Lady Jugue, looking at her son's reaction and feeling surprised. She had long heard of the news of the little princess's attack and was still gloating in the palace for not causing her to fall to death. In the blink of an eye, she was taken to the imperial study. She never expected it to be because of this matter. She saw her own son bowing his head and looking timid, and inwardly cried out in her heart. Perhaps this was not done by his son. Consort Jia, did I treat your mother and son too well? So much so that your mother and son forgot their lesson, and dared to take my advice on my princess. Consort Jia was so frightened that she knelt down on the ground and explained repeatedly, Your Majesty has been wrongly accused. My son is only 5 years old, how could he have done such a thing? Besides, the little princess is also his sister. My son is always gentle and cannot do such a thing. I hope your Majesty will be aware of it. Consort Jugue pondered how to dispel the emperor's anger. The emperor doted on the empress so much that her son might not be able to escape the blame. A cup hit her feet heavily, and she instinctively trembled. The emperor gave a cold smile and said, "What does Empress Jiagui mean? I have wronged you. I dare not." Lady Jia lowered her head. "Ji Luofan, I ask you, have you ever entered the princess's palace this afternoon?" "Father, Emperor." "Children's ministers. Children's ministers." Ji Luofan was stuttering and her forehead was covered in sweat. He didn't know how to answer, his eyes were evasive and his heart was fluctuating. Hiding behind Empress Jiagui, shivering and trembling. He never dared to look up at his father, and now that he has made a mistake, he dare not look at his angry father. Ji Mingao looked at his youngest son's cowardly appearance and was even more angry. "I don't understand how he could have such a timid son." With a slap on the table, he angrily said, "Speak up." Ji Luofan was scared and cried, "Wow. Father, I didn't mean to do it. I really didn't mean to do it." Ji Mingao didn't understand anything else, and her heart froze. The empress also instinctively frowned, unwilling to believe that a 5-year-old child's heart would be so cruel. I think it was also a gift from his ambitious mother. "Okay, you are really my good son. I have instructed that Consort Jiagui was not good at teaching her son. She took away her title and was demoted to a noble person, with a salary of 6 months. The fourth prince was young and ruthless, and was banned for 6 months. He knelt at the palace gate for 2 hours every day and repented well for me." Consort Jia looked at the emperor incredulously, demoting her to a noble status just because of such a small matter. My gaze shifted to the queen with luxurious makeup, and my heart was buried in hatred. I pinched 10 fingers into my flesh without realizing it. I had to bow my head and apologize for my mistake. "Thank you for your grace, your majesty. I understand my mistake and will educate the fourth prince well after returning. She will definitely investigate this matter thoroughly, and she will definitely repay this account twice as much. Empress, today's humiliation will surely be firmly remembered in her heart. Get out of here." Consort Jiagui's heart sank and she quickly left the imperial study with the fourth prince. Jiagairen, even now she can't believe that her son did this. Leaving aside that Ji Luofan is only 5 years old, Jiagairen always believes that someone has framed his son. He, Emperor, this is your good consort, your good son." The queen snorted coldly and brushed her sleeves before leaving. "Sanskrit, listen to my explanation." The emperor quickly chased after him. If he didn't explain well, he might not be able to enter the empress's Fengyi palace. The emperor never expected that the youngest son would have such a cruel heart. "I'm afraid it's not that those who are close to ink are black. This Jiagui person's heart is not pure either." Jiagairen returned to his palace in unbearable anger and held back all the palace attendants. "Pa!" Jiagairen slapped Ji Luofan hard in the face, and Ji Luofan bit her lips and covered her face, not even daring to show off her grandeur. A small face quickly swelled up, and Lady Jia didn't feel any pain at all. Bang! The cup in his hand smashed to the ground, pointing at him and cursing angrily, "A waste that is not successful enough and has more than enough to fail, even a baby in swaddling clothes cannot handle it. What's the use of this palace asking you? Why are you so foolish? How does this palace usually teach you?" She didn't expect her son to be so foolish, unable to do such a small thing and leave such a big handle on others. "Now it's okay, things haven't been done yet, and you're still in a mess. What a fool." Jiagairen is really angry beyond reach, his face twisted terrifyingly. "Mother, I'm sorry." Ji Luofan covered her face and hung her head, not daring to look at her mother. She only felt that the angry mother was terrifying. "I'm sorry. Do you know how difficult it was to sit in the position of a noble concubine in this palace? It's better now, because you useless person, everything fell through. Mother consort. Jayagairan pulled his son over inside, and his grandmother said with great care, "Fanner, the Empress Dowager wants you to remember the shame she suffered today. You must keep it firmly in your heart and avenge her in the future." What kind of thing is Gu Fanyin? Do you think having a daughter is enough? One day, I will make her lose everything I cherish. Jia Gairan's heart had long been filled with hatred, constantly cursing and his face darkened to the extreme. She finally sat in the position of the noble consort, and now she has been demoted to a noble status. She can't swallow this breath. Alright, now, she has become the laughing stock of the 6 palaces. Fanner, remember. When you grow up, you must avenge your mother's wife. Mother, I remember. I will never let my mother down. Ji Luofan nodded heavily. In my heart, I was a bit worried. The little sister must have fallen seriously, which is why father was so angry. In fact, he really wants to tell his mother that all of this is his fault and it's not even his little sister's business. But if he expresses his thoughts, he's afraid he'll anger his mother again. Okay, this is the good son of this palace. Jayagairan nodded in satisfaction, then embraced his son and blamed all the mistakes on Princess Anil and the Empress. This grudge, she can't forget it in this lifetime. Gu Fanyin, our palace is at odds with you. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. National Teachers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. National Teachers. The Sangnan Kingdom is very quiet at night. The moon hangs in the air, casting bright moonlight, shining on the streets, appearing peaceful and peaceful. In the imperial study, the national teacher Qin Han heard the news of the little princess's injury and hurriedly entered the palace. Your Majesty, I heard that the little princess is injured. May I see her? He asked the handsome man sitting on the dragon chair. I'll have someone bring the little princess. The emperor nodded and then turned around to order the eunuch to bring the little daughter. The medical skills of the national teacher are unmatched, let him see if Xiaonuomi is even better. Quickly, the eunuch was ordered to go out and soon came back holding the soft and sticky little princess. The national teacher brought the little princess over and looked at the soft and cute little princess, who was almost cute. He reached out his finger and gently pinched her little face. I just started to carefully examine her injuries, fortunately there was no major problem. The little princess looked up curiously at the exceptionally handsome national teacher in front of her, looking up at her little head. Wow, this national teacher is so handsome. The little princess's beautiful eyes turned into starry eyes, staring at the national teacher without blinking. This is the first time the national teacher has hugged the little princess, and I only feel that the little one is soft, with a large bruise on the lotus-like arm. The national teacher looked at his wound, and at this moment, the little guy pouted and looked very aggrieved, as if complaining. The national teacher took out an exquisite small porcelain bottle from his body and poured out 2 pills to feed the little princess. After taking this medicine, the lump on the little princess's head will disappear and she will feel more comfortable. At this moment, the little princess smiled sweetly, revealing her pure white teeth and 2 cute dimples. Her little hands curiously pinched the finger of the national teacher. The national teacher smiled gently, then took out another bottle and gently applied the ointment onto the little princess's arm. The ointment has a cold luster, and when applied to the arm, it quickly becomes crystal clear. The cold touch made the little princess frown uncontrollably, but she didn't cry out. Perhaps she knew that the national teacher was helping her heal her wound. She lifted her head and looked at the national teacher, full of curiosity. Being obedient is not good enough, and the national teacher felt that the little guy had been curious and looking at him. I feel incredibly comfortable in my heart. Is this the happiness of raising children? How about he take the little princess home and raise her? This medicine is very cool and smells good. After massaging it a few times, the bruises on my arms disappeared at a visible speed, and my arms became very comfortable. The little princess became cheerful, with a smile on her face. The national teacher chuckled lightly upon seeing the situation, and the little princess really hit it off with him. The two people here interact intimately, but the emperor over there has some taste. How could his precious daughter smile at other men? Fortunately, the little princess is still young. If she still likes to smile at others like this, what should she do? It's not good if she is abducted. Just, the ointment in the hands of the national teacher may be expensive, right? Thinking of this, the emperor suddenly had an impulse to rob this man's prescription. You should know that the medicine produced by the national teacher is of great value, unmatched by anyone. Not long after, the little one's arm had completely eliminated the congestion, and the entire arm was smoother and more tender than before. The emperor is busy with official duties. If you can't take care of the little princess well, I don't mind helping the emperor take care of her. The national teacher stood up with the little princess in his arms and spoke. He was tall and slender, dressed in a light blue robe, and his ink hair was tied up with the same colored hair crown, showcasing his cool and noble temperament. He has an extraordinary appearance, but his whole body exudes nobility, which cannot be ignored. My daughter won't bother the national teacher anymore, the emperor smiled and tugged at the corner of his lips. It's not a small matter for the little princess to be hurt by someone. Once, there will be a second time. I think I am more suitable than the emperor to take care of the little princess, and I think the empress will also agree. After all, it is also because the emperor's negligence that his son injured the little princess. Most importantly, the little princess is so cute. He suddenly wanted to take the little princess home and raise her for himself. The emperor does not care about the arrogant and aloof attitude of the national teacher. After all, his junior brother has always been like this. But what angered him was that this was threatening him, daring to openly snatch his daughter. It's not necessary. I'll take care of my daughter myself. The emperor has so many sons that he doesn't care about the little princess. Ji Mingao looked at his shameless junior brother and really wanted to beat him up. With a smile on his face, he looked at him and said, "Don't even think about it. Instead of thinking about other people's daughters, it's better to get married and have children as soon as possible. Do you want me to point the marriage to you?" The national teacher frowned slightly and said, "If you dare to propose marriage, I dare to take the little princess home." Hee hee. You're really good. Ji Mingao gritted her teeth and said. His junior brother can say and do it. He said a few more words. I'm afraid he will really hug his little princess and wander the world. Thank you for your praise. The national teacher looked down at the little one drowsy and remembered that the little nanny had always liked to sleep, so he reluctantly returned her to the emperor. Don't worry, they have a long way to go. The national teacher didn't want to stay long even after completing the main task. He walked outside and suddenly stopped, turned around to look at the angry emperor, with a wicked smile on his lips. Hee hee, let's wait for the little princess to grow up, maybe she will like me. After speaking, the national teacher confidently walked away, leaving behind an angry emperor. The emperor bit a silver tooth and said, "This damn bastard." Surprisingly, he abducted his daughter and even fought against him in public. It's really bullying. The national teacher and the emperor and empress are fellow disciples with extraordinary abilities. He was also exhausted in the Changnan kingdom, and the empress has always favored this young junior brother. No one in the national teacher knows its true origin. Astronomy and geography are omniscient, poetry, songs, and prose are all proficient, and medical skills and martial arts are unparalleled. Respected by thousands of people, it is also because of his existence that the people of Changnan are safe, prosperous, and live a peaceful life. But such a person has no desires or requests, but now he wants to take care of his daughter. Think beautifully. No one is allowed to snatch his daughter. Carrying the little princess back to Fanyi Palace and placing it on the bed. Junior brother specifically came to see Xiaonuomi. Yeah, don't worry, junior brother helped to check Xiaonuomi once and added medicine. It's going to be okay soon. That's good. Junior brother can rest assured after seeing my concubine. Gu Fanyin breathed a sigh of relief. Her daughter's injury really scared her, fearing that it would leave a psychological shadow or some kind of sequelae on her child. My junior brother's medical skills are unparalleled. If he says it's okay, there won't be anything wrong. She has a cold heart. A 5-year-old child, how could he do anything to kill his sister? Gu Fanyin couldn't help but sigh. The emperor thought she was still worried about the child, so he quickly embraced her and gently patted her back, comforting her gently, "Don't worry, I have already sent guards, and we will not let the villains harm our daughter in the future. Ji Yunfan is still young, I'm afraid he was influenced by his mother's concubine to do such things. I know that Jiagairan has never been a worry-free person, it's just a pity that they have ruined a good child. A child is just a blank sheet of paper, and how they develop will be taught by those around them. His mother cannot escape responsibility for doing such a thing. If she doesn't have a long memory, I will definitely not spare her lightly." End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Annual Banquet. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 Annual Banquet. The Emperor is preparing to hold a grand annual banquet for his own little princess, and he wants to take this opportunity to announce to the world that this is his most beloved daughter. The palace is decorated with lights and colorful decorations, making it incredibly lively. The emperor, along with his ministers, nobles, and destined women, sat in the palace, chatting and laughter and joy kept coming. The Empress Dowager and Empress Dowager also sat among them, both of whom were heavyweight figures of the dynasty, with noble identities that caught the attention of others wherever they went. The Empress sat in the main seat holding the princess, and the little one was not afraid either. Her round eyes curiously looked around, and everything she saw felt fresh. The Empress lowered her head and gently caressed her head, with a smile on her lips. "This child is so cute, he was carved from the exact same mold as your majesty. Not to mention it, it's a bit similar, especially those big eyes that are particularly beautiful, black and bright." The other two concubines laughed and said, "Look at how smart our princess is. Look at her now, she knows she's looking around for her father." The emperor was very happy upon hearing this, his eyebrows fluttering, and he said with a smile, "Isn't that so? My daughter is just amazing." The empress lowered her gaze slightly, concealing a faint glow in her eyes. Today's birthday banquet was personally prepared by the emperor. He invited everyone he could, just to celebrate his precious daughter's full moon and let everyone know how much he doted on their only precious pearl. A few concubines praised the little princess with every word you said. The Empress Dowager looked at her pink and innocent granddaughter in swaddling clothes with kind eyebrows and a smile that became even more apparent. This child has been well behaved and sensible since childhood, which makes the AI family love her so much. At this moment, envoys from various countries came to congratulate them. They brought many rare and precious things, and also gave the emperor many gifts. The emperor rewarded all of them to his precious daughter, making everyone unable to close their mouths. The little guy was surrounded by a group of people, extremely happy, waving his chubby little hands and giggling. His clear and tender voice echoed throughout the hall, causing everyone to look at him repeatedly and want to tease him. As the time for capturing Zhou arrived, the guests gradually dispersed, leaving only 3 or 4 respected senior officials by the Empress Dowager's side, waiting to watch the princess's ceremony of capturing Zhou. The emperor stood beside the empress and asked with a smile, "Empress, when will the Zhou festival ceremony be held?" "I can't wait a long time." The empress gently patted the princess in her arms and raised her eyes with a faint smile, saying, "Your Majesty, why are you in such a hurry? It's not yet the right time." "Oh my, I can't wait any longer." The emperor urged with a smile, "Hurry up." "Okay," the empress sighed lightly and gestured to the nearby grandmother. A burst of footsteps rushed over, and after a moment, a grandmother led more than 10 palace maids to bring trays. The palace maids put down the tray and respectfully retreated to both sides. The Zhou festival ceremony is about to begin. The empress looked at her daughter and said, "Little Nuomi, open your eyes and see what's on the table." The little princess grinned, revealing her fair and lovely teeth, with a naive and innocent expression. She blinked her watery big eyes and slowly got up. Her chubby little paws casually grabbed one of the thick books, then flipped through a few pages and casually grabbed a pen and an inkstone. The little one has already caught the 10th gift, and the combined value of each gift is enough for ordinary people to eat and drink for a lifetime. But she still didn't stop, continuing to stretch out her chubby paws and grab forward. The emperor, empress, and others looked in their eyes, both pleased and proud. The little one returned with a full load. Hee, only children make choices, she wants everything. Strange to say, the night I was pinched by my elder brother, I had a nightmare all night. After waking up, there were some strange things in my mind. After waking up this time, she suddenly turned into a little rich woman, lacking nothing. The little one handed the queen the same thing he caught. Finally, with his little hands behind his back, his head tilted back, and his short legs swayed as he walked towards his parents. "Father, mother," the little one shouted with a soft and sweet voice, "I have many gifts. Hee. All for mother." The empress bent down to pick up her daughter and couldn't help but kiss her blushing face, saying, "My daughter is the best." Although the empress also hoped that her daughter would be more loved, she felt genuinely happy to see her daughter so lovable. The emperor looked at his daughter's smile and felt ecstatic. He quickly took her and hugged her in his arms, one daughter on the left and one daughter on the right, shouting loudly, "Really lively." The little princess was held in the arms of her father, giggling, and her big black eyes narrowed with a smile, as if embedded with shining stars. The envoy of the night Mingua has arrived. Emperor Yi Chen of Yeming Kingdom came to congratulate him. It is well known that Yi Chen and the southern emperor of Changnan Kingdom never dealt with each other. It was unexpected that Yi Chen would personally come to congratulate him, which surprised everyone. Senior brother, long time no see. When they were young, Yi Chenji Mingao and Gu Fanyin once studied under their teachers at the Tianshan Gate. Yi Chen was wearing a black gold-patterned brocade robe, with a tall and slender figure, sword eyebrows and phoenix eyes, distinct facial features, and a high and straight nose bridge, not like the majestic aura of the southern emperor. Yi Chen's every move revealed a demonic aura, especially a face that was even more enchanting than a woman. He looked at the little doll held in the emperor's arms and smiled, saying, "I heard that my niece and daughter came to join the fun of the Zhou festival today and also asked for a wedding wine. How about that? Senior brother, don't you mind?" "How could I mind? With the arrival of Yi Chen, I can't help but beg for it." The emperor smiled heartily. Ha, senior brother is becoming more and more humble," Yi Chen Lang laughed. "Is this senior sister's daughter? She's really beautiful." The empress smiled humbly and said, "Thank you for the praise of the night emperor." As soon as the little one heard someone praise her for her beauty, he immediately smiled and curved his eyebrows, revealing two pointed little tiger teeth, which were extremely cute. "I don't know if junior brother is lucky enough to have a hug," suggested Yi Chen. The emperor was about to refuse, but the empress agreed first and said with a smile, "Of course. Come on, give Uncle Yi Chen a hug." After hearing the empress's words, the emperor handed the little one over to Yi Chen and earnestly reminded him, "Junior brother, you don't understand the pain and joy of raising a daughter. After all, you don't have a daughter. When you have a daughter, you will know." Yi Chen really wants to beat him up. What's so great about having a daughter? Shameless. Yi Chen brought the little princess over. The little girl was really cute, with a chubby little face, dark eyes, round and plump cherry lips, snow-white and pink arms and legs. It looked so delightful. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Godfather. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7 Godfather. Senior sister, this is your legitimate blood and blood, indeed born beautifully. Yi Chen praised the empress with a smile. The empress nodded, a hint of melancholy and helplessness passing through her eyes. I hope for the stars and the moon, and finally I hope for this little one." When the Empress said these words, her expression was calm and gentle, as if she was recounting something very ordinary. The little one looked curiously at the unfamiliar man in front of him with big, black grape-like eyes, and suddenly opened his mouth, spitting bubbles at him. "Wow, this uncle is so beautiful. She really likes it." Yi Chen couldn't help but laugh and said, "How mischievous." Yi Chen couldn't help but laugh and said, "It seems that the little princess and I are very compatible. Why don't I become the little princess's godfather?" Subsequently, without hesitation, he stuffed the jade pendant representing his identity into the arms of the little princess, firmly establishing his godfather's identity. The little one looked at this jade pendant with a curious expression, then held it tightly. Of course, she knew it was a valuable treasure. It would be nice to be accepted as a goddaughter by foreign armies. Not bad, not bad. I made a fortune at tonight's New Year's banquet. My daughter, why are you joining in the fun? Southern Emperor roared in displeasure. Watching Yi Chen get angry. I don't know why this guy came all the way to join in the fun. Yi Chen was too lazy to pay attention to him and lowered his head to coax the little princess, "Good baby, call it Godfather, call it Godfather." The little one tilted his head and thought for a moment. She had received such a valuable gift, so he reluctantly let out a cry. After all, this uncle is so good. Looking. Suddenly giggling, he said, "Damn it, Godfather." Yi Chen was overjoyed and hugged her, kissing her fair face. He praised her and said, "Good baby, you're so smart. It's really cheap." Ji Ming is proud to have such a lovely daughter. Ji Ming remained calm and pointed at him, angrily rebuking, "I always knew you didn't want face. Now it seems even worse than before. Looking at him made me angry, and I even had my mind set on his daughter. That's it for each other." Yi Chen sneered mercilessly, speaking as if he wanted to be embarrassed, feeling embarrassed to say anything about others. Turning to the Empress, she said gently, "Senior sister, I have brought many rare treasures over today. You can choose some suitable ones for the little princess another day." The Empress smiled and "Thank you very much, junior brother." At this moment, the people of Yi Chen carried up the congratulatory gift, all of which were rare treasures. The Empress scanned her eyes and found that they were all kinds of precious jewelry. She couldn't help but sigh inwardly that they were rich and powerful, and many things were probably piled up with gold. The most precious is a half-human high-blood coral. There is also a whole large box of rare conch beads, with excellent color and quality. The little one looked straight at these treasures. This uncle is so wealthy. There are so many treasures. Yi Chen looked at the cute little guy and couldn't help but laugh, reaching out to pinch her little face. Soft as a ball of cotton. Reluctantly returning the little one to the queen, he sat for a while before leaving first. Originally, Ji Mingao and Yi Chen didn't like each other, so sitting down again would be meaningless. He was originally here to see the Empress, so he felt relieved when he saw her safe and sound. I immediately greeted the queen and left. The little one was tired of playing and dozing off in the arms of the Empress. Mu Muangua Crown Prince Gu Zi and his envoys present. The Crown Prince, who is only 13 years old, is dressed in black court attire, with a handsome face and a sharp and resolute expression between his eyebrows. Gu Zi bowed respectfully and presented a congratulatory gift. I paid my respects to my uncle and aunt, but haven't seen them for a long time. I miss my aunt very much. I don't know how well she is. Gu Zi respectfully knelt down to greet his aunt before standing up. Auntie, everything is fine. Is it tiring for Zi to come all the way? Returning to my aunt, I am not tired. He presented the gift that had been prepared earlier. This is a specially made sachet for the Muan royal family, used for deworming and purifying. The emperor looked at this gift and felt a little relieved. Gu Zi is the only legitimate son of Muan Kingdom, who has been exceptionally intelligent since childhood and highly valued by the Muan king. At this moment, Gu Zi came to congratulate the queen and presented a carefully prepared gift for the queen and princess. Gu Zi once again presented a set of pure white jade carving decorations, with warm and delicate jade texture, exquisite carving techniques, high prices, and auspicious meanings. A delicate and expensive jade necklace, a priceless gold thread dress, a dragon-shaped jade pendant, and a pure silver dragon-shaped key. All of this is to add blessings to the princess and show good wishes. Not forgetting to bring her favorite treasures to her aunt, Gu Zi's filial piety is really hard to comment on. After receiving the gift, the little one immediately opened his eyes, and his clear and agile eyes were filled with amazement. She reached out her fleshy little hand, grabbing the jade necklace and touching it. The empress looked at her with a smile and asked softly, "Does Xiaonuomi like this jade necklace?" The little one blinked his watery eyes and nodded heavily upon hearing this. "Since Xiaonuomi likes it, let's take it and put it on." Speaking, the palace attendant took the jade pendant and hung it around the princess's neck. "Wow, it's so good. Her joyful appearance is simply irresistible." The little princess admired her gift while turning her head and grinning sweetly at the emperor and empress. "Thank you, Prince," the little princess said in a milky voice. "As long as the little sister likes it, it's good." At this moment, the crown prince whispered, "Auntie, I have someone prepare the pastry that Auntie loves and bring it to her tomorrow." Upon hearing this, the little princess couldn't care about playing with the jade necklace anymore. She looked up at the empress and asked in a milky voice, "Auntie, is the pastry delicious? I want to eat it too." The empress gave a spoiled smile and gently stroked her delicate face, saying, "Silly child, I am your mother." "Mother. Good child, stay in the palace these days and accompany your aunt. She hasn't seen you for a long time." "My lord, obey me," said the crown prince obediently. The little princess fell asleep again and fell asleep directly in the empress's arms. The queen left the banquet first upon seeing this and took the little princess back to rest. A small New Year's banquet was celebrated by the Lord of Yimingua and Gu Zi personally, making it even more grand. At the same time, he also told everyone how much the royal family cared about this princess. It seems that both Yiming Kingdom and Muan Kingdom are coming towards the empress. They almost forgot that Gu Fanyin is the legitimate princess of Muan Kingdom. Muan Kingdom and Yiming Kingdom are here to support the empress. Now giving birth to the only little princess, this little princess is loved by countless people, and I'm afraid she will also grow into an extraordinary person in the future. Princess Annal, not to be underestimated. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Smashing Walnuts. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Smashing Walnuts. In the blink of an eye, the little princess was 3 years old. In the imperial study, Xiaonuomi, wearing a light purple skirt, squatted in the corner. From behind, only a chubby and round milk ball could be seen. Haha. The chubby hands struggled to lift the jade seal and smashed it towards the walnuts on the ground. Bang! The walnut rolled aside, and the jade seal shattered a corner. Looking at the missing corner of the jade seal, Xiaonuomi felt a bit confused and said, "Daddy, this jade seal can't be fake, can't it even be smashed open?" "Impossible, this is true, and it's a national jade seal. It can never be fake," said the maid Xiao Tao with certainty. But I was extremely anxious in my heart. Upon hearing Xiao Tao's affirmation, Xiaonuomi became even more depressed and said, "Why isn't it useful?" Xiaonuomi picked up the jade seal and vigorously knocked it onto the walnut. Bang! I saw that the originally smooth and round jade seal was hit hard by Xiaonuomi, immediately creating a big hole. Xiaonuomi was stunned. This is too bad, it breaks easily when touched. Little Peach is speechless. Although I know that Xiaonuomi has been spoiled since childhood and can do anything. After a crisp sound, the jade seal was knocked to the ground and shattered into pieces. Xiaonuomi was dumbfounded and said, "Did you actually damage it?" Xiao Taozi was also stunned and said, "It's all over. Little ancestor, you've caused trouble. You should know that this is a royal treasure. How can this thing be destroyed casually? This is illegal. Let's quickly escape." Xiaonuomi lowered her head to look at the shattered jade seal at her feet, then looked up at Xiao Tao and said, "But is this thing clearly fake?" Upon hearing this, Xiaonuomi immediately picked up the jade seal and ran out of the palace, tons by tons. Xiaonuomi ran straight to the East Palace. "Brother." The person arrived before the sound. Upon hearing her sister's shout, Crown Prince Ji Luoyu, who was handling government affairs, put down her memorial and walked towards the entrance of the palace. Seeing her long-awaited younger sister, fourth Prince Ji Luoyao greeted her with a smile on her face and said, "Little Nuomi, it's been a long time since we last met. Have you missed your brother?" Xiaonuomi ignored her own 5 brothers and threw herself directly onto Jiluoyu in the back, bumping into her arms. "What happened? Why are you in a panic? What kind of behavior is it?" Ji Luoyu frowned and looked at her sister with a serious expression. Her eyes were full of worry, and she unconsciously rubbed her own sister's head with both hands, afraid that she might hurt her. "Brother, please help the baby quickly," Xiaonuomi said coquettishly, pulling the crown prince's arm. What exactly happened to make you so impolite? Tell brother, see if he can help you." The crown prince doted on him, fearing that his precious sister might have caused trouble again. Xiaonuomi opened the small bundle in her arms and revealed a jade seal with several broken corners. Everyone looked at each other in shock. Their little glutinous rice dumplings have caused trouble again. They finally understood that their only precious sister was a troublemaker who could do anything from heaven to earth. Even a jade seal could make a hole, but someone else would have pulled her out and beheaded her long ago. Is this jade seal real? Why can't I even smash a walnut and even break it in half? Little Nuomi pouted and pointed to the shattered jade seal on the ground, her pink and tender face feeling aggrieved. The third prince was so scared that he swallowed his saliva and trembled as he picked up a small piece of debris. Is it still possible to stick it back now? The small fragments in her hand were like hot potato, which frightened Ji Luoyao and threw them out directly. Pointing at the fragments on the ground, he threatened and stuttered, "Oh my goodness. Tuanzi, you actually smashed your father's jade seal on walnuts. Now your butt is about to bloom." Xiaonuomi, this." The crown prince, who was used to the large venue, suddenly didn't know how to explain. He can't say it's useless because it's fake, can he? "Father, are you old and confused? I don't know how to hide such an important thing better. It's okay now, let's break it. Brother, tell me it's true. Why can't such a large jade seal even open walnuts?" Seeing his younger sister's tearful expression, the crown prince, who had always been young and mature, softened his heart and sighed, Since Xiaonuomi has already discovered this matter, I can only tell you the truth. It's true that this jade seal is not real. But this jade seal is not made of ordinary jade, but is carved from high-quality sheep fat white jade, which is priceless." Xiaonuomi was completely shocked when she heard her brother's words. There are still jade stones used as jade seals in this world. This jade seal is too luxurious and wasteful. No, it can't be so wasteful. We must knock on 2 more walnuts. Xiaonuomi had a sore face and turned to go find the walnuts to continue knocking. Then I'll find 2 more walnuts, and I'll definitely be able to break them open this time. Xiaonuomi promised confidently. Now, everyone is not calm anymore. Xiaonuomi, don't knock anymore. This is a priceless treasure. The third prince grabbed his sister's arm and didn't allow her to strike again. The emperor has arrived. The sudden sharp and high-pitched voice echoed through the sky, causing both the crown prince and Xiaonuomi to tremble with fear. The little glutinous rice bun, who was originally running very fast with short legs, immediately gave up running forward and turned around to run back. As she ran, she wailed and burst into tears, her pitiful and sorrowful voice echoing through the sky, leaving listeners heartbroken. "Oh! Father, Xiaonuomi is wrong. Wu weo weo weo." Xiaonuomi Tuanzi cried with a delicate doll face. "Do you still want to run?" The emperor lifted the fleeing glutinous rice into his chest with 2 armpits and shook it, smiling with a gloomy expression, threatening. Xiaonuomi Tuanzi felt like she was about to cry and faint. Her amethyst-like eyes flickered, and 2 chubby fingers poked at each other again and again. A delicate doll's face blushed as if it could drip blood. "Woo woo woo. Father, spare your life, the baby really dares not." Xiaonuomi Tuanzi struggled and begged for mercy, but the emperor seemed determined not to let her go. A pair of deep and sharp eyes stared coldly at his own daughter. Xiaonuomi Tuanzi was stared at, her whole body shivering with fear, and she couldn't help but tremble with an expression of being bullied. His Majesty snorted coldly upon seeing the situation and said, "I tell you, this matter is not over today. Woo woo. Daddy doesn't love Xiaonuomi anymore, babies love Daddy the most." Xiaonuomi Tuanzi cried and said. Seeing the appearance of Xiaonuomi Tuanzi, His Majesty's heart was instantly filled with joy, but his face still wore a serious expression. "Humph. Do you think I can forgive you by saying this? I tell you, there is no door." Xiaonuomi Tuanzi cried and said, But. How did the baby know that walnuts are so hard?" End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Baby Knows Wrong. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Baby Knows Wrong. His Majesty heard his daughter's sweet and greasy voice, and felt a sense of relief in his heart. However, he still wore a very serious appearance on the surface, and extended his thick and powerful index finger to lightly flick Xiaonuomi's forehead. Xiaonuomi felt pain and covered her forehead, muttering, "Daddy hates it, it's all swollen." "Hee hee. Do you know you're scared? Why did you just run away?" His Majesty snorted coldly and asked seriously. "The baby is mistaken," little Nuomi Tuanzi tearfully admitted her mistake, with 2 lotus-like arms hanging on her chest. Then the little face turned proudly to one side and said, "I dare to do it again next time." "Then tell me where you went wrong." His Majesty continued to question. Xiaonuomi tilted her head and blinked her black grape-like eyes, trying to recall, "The baby should have knocked a few more times before smashing, otherwise it won't break." His Majesty's mouth twitched slightly and he said, "You think this thing is like porcelain, you can knock it open and smash it again. If only it were that simple. Dad, the baby knows now. They shouldn't steal your precious jade seal, they shouldn't steal your precious walnuts." Xiaonuomi nodded seriously in agreement. "It's good you knew, I thought you would continue stealing. This girl is so spoiled that she dares to take the jade seal and play with it. It seems that he didn't teach this group a good lesson this time." "No. Absolutely not. Baby swear, baby will never steal again." Little Nuomi raised her right hand and swore, looking pitifully at His Majesty the Emperor. The Emperor looked at his mischievous daughter with a smile on his face. At this moment, Xiaonuomi Tuanzi seemed to feel the approach of death. "Father, Xiaonuomi is still young. You can just bypass her. She just wants to play and has no ill intentions." Ji Luoyu quickly stepped forward to plead for her sister. As soon as the Crown Prince spoke, he was met with strong resistance from His Majesty the Emperor, and his anger was directed towards his sons. "These naughty little girls are not all spoiled by your brothers." As the Emperor spoke, he reached out and pinched his daughter's chubby little face. "Well, the feel is really good. My daughter is still soft, cute and adorable. Ahem. Daddy is a big bad guy. Xiaonuomi Tuanzi grinned as he was pinched and bit his finger. Ji Mingao was not angry either, watching her daughter dote on her. "Father, I have made a mistake. Please be careful next time," said the crown prince seriously. "Next time? Humph. I still want to have another time." His Majesty looked at his kneeling son and snorted coldly, then released the finger that was pinching the cheek of the little glutinous rice ball. She patted her buttocks lightly and lightly. "Tell me about you. You're already quite adult and mischievous. If your mother knew, she would definitely break your calves. Xiaonuomi Tuanzi is not happy anymore, and daddy is scaring people again. Woo-woo, my dad doesn't like me anymore. He's such a bad guy, hit my butt. What nonsense. You are the pearl in my father's palm, who would be willing to hit you. Father is the worst. I don't like you." Little glutinous rice dumpling pounded his chest hard. "Ha ha ha. All right. Dad loves our little glutinous rice the most, don't get angry." Xiaonuomi Tuanzi slid down from him, hugging his own little butt and walked away with twists and turns. As he walked, he muttered discontentedly, "Bad father, stinky father. The baby doesn't like you anymore, humph." His Royal Highness looked helplessly at the departing figure, and the little milk voice that was muttering in fragments was truly adorable. "Humph. Let me tell you what, this little girl is so ghostly and mischievous. She will definitely bring disaster to the country and the people when she grows up." The emperor stepped forward and picked up the small glutinous rice ball, then stuffed his daughter into his dragon robe and said, "Let's go, come back with me. To punish you, I'll spend a day with my father today." Xiaonuomi nodded obediently and allowed her father, the emperor, to carry her away from the eastern palace, then sat in a sedan chair to drive her away. Ji Luoyu looked at the large and small figures and sighed. "When it comes to who dotes on glutinous rice the most in the palace, my father ranks first, and my grandmother ranks second. Is this Princess Annal?" The man who had not spoken suddenly spoke. "He is the only prince with a different surname in Sangnan Kingdom, Nanyimo. Nanshan Wang. Nanshan Wang is only 13 years old, standing on the side in black clothes with an indescribable coldness. His eyes are deep, like stars in the night sky. His father died on the battlefield, and the Prince of Nanshan inherited his title. He was raised at a young age in the residence of the emperor's younger brother, the Night King. Yeah, otherwise who else could use the jade seal to smash father's cultural and playful walnuts?" The crown prince covered his face and chuckled lightly, his beautiful eyes full of tenderness, only feeling that his little sister was really cute and charming. "It's quite cute. It seems that Uncle Huang didn't deceive him. The little princess is really adorable." "Big brother, won't your sister be beaten?" the third prince asked anxiously. "After all, this is a jade seal. Ordinary people dare not touch it." Ji Luoyu gave him an indifferent glance and said, "You are more likely to be beaten." "For Mao, I didn't make any mistakes." His Majesty returned to the imperial study with the little glutinous rice along the way. Xiaonuomi Tuanzi poked out half of his small head from the emperor's arms and looked left and right. Along the way, the emperor held his daughter and teased her while telling her various interesting stories, which made Xiaonuomi chuckle. In the imperial study, the emperor personally taught Xiaonuomi how to write, stroke by stroke, with each stroke having a great charm. Xiaonuomi Tuanzi learns very quickly and can easily memorize at once, so she is also adept at writing. "Daddy!" Xiaonuomi Tuanzi shouted while waving her pink and tender paws. What's wrong?" The emperor stopped writing and looked at the little girl in his arms with indulgence. Xiaonuomi Tuanzi rubbed her buttocks with her own chubby little fist, and then the little fist landed on Ji Mingo's body. "The baby's butt hurts, it's all my dad's fault." The emperor was taken aback for a moment, then burst into laughter and said, "You deserve to be mischievous. Daddy's bad." Xiaonuomi Tuanzi squeezed her lips. I think a little dumpling doesn't want to eat glutinous rice cakes. The newly baked glutinous rice cakes is fragrant and sweet, so it's not as good as. Sure enough, the little dumpling's attention was diverted. The little nose came to the table and sniffed. The eyes were green, and the saliva flowed out. Glutinous rice cakes. It seems that only Dad will eat it himself. Before he finished speaking, he heard the little glutinous rice dumpling cry out in panic. No. The baby wants to eat glutinous rice cakes. His Majesty smiled even more joyfully. Xiaonuomi Tuanzi flattened her mouth in grievance, and her watery eyes sparkled with a crystal-clear light. Father is the worst. If you want to eat glutinous rice cakes, just recite this article, the emperor said with a threatening face. Xiaonuomi Tuanzi looked at the emperor's father and then at the content on the paper, hesitating for a moment. Suddenly, as if thinking of something, the little face immediately turned into a bitter gourd face. What if the baby can't carry it? If you can't recite it, you won't want to eat glutinous rice cakes in the future. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. 1000 Beauties and 100 Pets. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10,000 Beauties and 100 Pets. Xiaonuomi Tuanzi glared angrily at the emperor, then leaned back onto the table and continued to fight. His Majesty drank tea leisurely, waiting for the little glutinous rice dumpling to give up. Xiaonuomi Tuanzi pouted her buttocks, grabbed the paper with her small hands, closed her eyes and pondered for a second, then opened her eyes and wrote the first page with a swish. Heaven and earth have just opened, the sun and moon shine together. Mountains, rivers, and wind and clouds are surging. The great road is 3000, born in chaos, and ultimately silent. All things come and go, reproduce and circulate. Life and death, cycle back and forth, eternal and never-ending, pop pop pop. All right. Ji Mingao clapped her hands with a pleased expression on her face. Xiaonuomi Tuanzi was able to quickly understand the meaning in the Book of Sages and even remember the principles behind it, which was truly rare. Father, is the baby great? Xiaonuomi Tuanzi proudly raised her small neck and said, Great. Of course it's great. You're my good daughter. His Majesty doted on her and said, Someone, pass on the meal. Obey the order. Wang Gonggong respectfully stepped down and went to arrange for the meal to be served. Dad is the best. Mua, the little glutinous rice dumpling hugged the emperor's neck and took a hard bite on his handsome face. Ha ha ha. Ji Mingao was coaxed into ecstasy. Daddy, the baby wants to eat glutinous rice cakes, sweet-scented asmanthus cake, plum cake. Okay, Dad will have someone do it for you now. Before the meal was finished, Xiaonuomi nestled in Ji Mingo's arms, feeling drowsy. One side of her face was squeezed out, while the other side had a string of saliva flowing out from the corner of her mouth, sleeping soundly in her father's arms. Xiaonuomi, are you a little pig? Sleep when you're full. Ji Ming proudly smiled and leaned down to kiss the meaty face. Being disturbed while sleeping, Xiaonuomi swung a small fist and gave her father a milk punch. Ji Mingao reluctantly grasped and rubbed her rebellious little fist in the palm of her hand, so as not to hurt her little hand. Holding an obedient daughter in his arms, he read the memorial with full energy. After approving the memorial, Ji Mingao directly carried Xiaonuomi back to Fenyi Palace and placed her on the bed. Xiaonuomi rolled over as soon as she touched the bed before falling asleep. The queen watched as she kissed her soft little daughter before leaving the palace with the emperor. Your Majesty, you can't spoil Xiaonuomi too much. The people below should have some objections. I think she also heard about Xiaonuomi smashing walnuts with a jade seal. If this news spreads, it's okay. I don't know how someone with a heart should arrange for her daughter. Ji Mingao didn't take it lightly. My daughter should have been spoiled by 1,000 beauties. Your Majesty is not worried about spoiling your daughter. Our daughter, how could she be spoiled? Empress Xiaonuomi is only 5 years old, so she should have spoiled her all by herself. Don't worry. I'm worried that our daughter's popularity is too high. The queen sighed and realized that raising a daughter and a son were truly different. She is too lazy to ask about her son's arbitrary growth, and every move of this daughter touches their hearts, afraid that she might bump into them. Looking at my daughter's pink and tender little face, her heart softened like a puddle of water, yet she couldn't bear to scold. Her daughter should naturally be favored by many, but she is worried that someone may have their minds set on her daughter. Just as dinner was served, Xiaonuomi seemed to have asked about the aroma of the food and sat up drowsily. Then little Peach carried her out of the dormitory. "Dad, you want to hug me?" He reached out his little hand to his own dad in a daze, and Ji Mingao quickly put down his chopsticks and picked up his daughter. "Your Majesty, why don't you finish your meal first and I'll hold the small glutinous rice. I'll just come and hold it. Our little glutinous rice likes to be held by Dad." Xiaonuomi seems to have not woken up yet, obediently nestled in the arms of the emperor. Looking at this small lump of milk in his arms, the emperor's heart was incredibly soft. When Xiaonuomi woke up, he picked up a small spoon to feed his daughter. Her cheeks bulged like a little hamster, and she was really cute. Ji Mingao only thinks that feeding her daughter is the happiest thing. After dinner, Ji Mingao returned to the study to handle the memorial, and Xiaonuomi sat in his arms with him. I don't know why, Xiaonuomi has always liked to stick to the emperor since birth, and often starts crying when she wakes up and can't see the emperor. She always cried heart to heart until the emperor held her in his arms. So much so that the emperor always carried the little princess to court, and handling memorials often saw the little princess accompanying him. Seeing too much color all night, Xiaonuomi rubbed her eyes, grabbed Ji Mingao's clothes, and climbed up. Suddenly feeling heavy on her legs, she saw her own little princess and quickly picked her up. "Dad, I'm tired. Can you sleep with me?" Xiaonuomi was so tired that she couldn't open her eyes. She even tried to raise her head and show a smiling face. Her smile was even more brilliant and dazzling than a sunflower, as if the entire sky was bright. "I really can't do anything about you." The emperor murmured softly, then hugged his daughter tightly and walked towards the palace. She still sleeps with her mother every day and must be accompanied by her father the emperor sooner or later. Because the little princess is too clingy, the empress often complains. Did she give birth to this child? It's not that babies should be very clingy to their mothers. Why does their glutinous rice like to stick to your majesty so much? The emperor nodded in agreement with a deep agreement. Xiaonuomi just needs to stick to him. This way, you won't be afraid of being abducted by others. So, from then on, a rumor circulated in the palace. That the Holy One and the Empress are deeply married today, with exceptional love. So, the little Royal Highness Princess is so clingy. "Dad, you haven't told me a story yet," Xiaonuomi said with a milky voice, looking forward to it. Your Majesty doted on a smile and gently coaxed, "Okay, Dad will tell you now." "Great." She patted her fleshy little palm, excited like a little fool. The Emperor fell silent for a moment. "All right, Dad, let me tell you a story about Romance of the Three Kingdoms. After speaking, he quietly began to tell his daughter. In no time, Xiaonuomi fell asleep with a sweet and happy smile on her lips. Seeing his precious daughter's peaceful and beautiful sleeping face, the emperor was filled with pride. He bent down and kissed her fair and lovely forehead, with extremely gentle movements. Then he held Gu Fanin's hand and gently kissed her lips. The two of them looked at each other with a smile, watching their daughter, who was sleeping soundly in the middle, full of happiness. At this moment, the main hall was quiet, even the lights and candles became very dim, only the moonlight outside the window shone into the room. It was already late at night, but he had no drowsiness. Watching his daughter's innocent sleeping face, His Majesty's thoughts surged and mixed with emotions. What should he do when his child grows up and wants to get married in the future? Can he still be spoiled and capricious towards him like he is now? Or will she learn to protect herself? When his daughter was only 5 years old, he began to think about what would happen 10 years later, but the more he thought about it, the more sour his heart became. Is this the stage that raising a daughter requires going through? End of this chapter.